Good. All right. So, welcome to Positivity is the Way to Go. She is a former sports journalist and sports official, author, educator, and foster mom. Welcome to the program today on this special night. Annie Montgomery, it's a pleasure to have you on, my friend.
Well, thank you, Dion. I've missed our chats.
Yeah, I miss seeing you at work. You got to come to Chicago one day, Annie. We got to hang out sometime.
If I ever get there, I promise we'll hang out.
You probably a better cook than me anyway. All I can do is make eggs and toast.
Oh,
The
I
basic.
used I used to be married to a chef. And my partner now is a fabulous cook, but I used to bake. So I'm really good at things that are sweet. I can cook, I just don't have a passion for it like Ryan does.
Well, I know you probably can cook better than me though, Annie. So
Well, you
let's
should
get
learn to
started.
cook. It's important.
Yeah, but I be busy though, Annie. I'm about to be on cable TV starting next month. I'm trying to get my I got a big announcement coming more with that as well in the
Okay.
future. I'm not gonna it's a tease, I like to
Okay.
tease. I'm not gonna get wet. I'm not gonna spill the beans, not right now, maybe down the
Okay.
road.
All right.
So let's get started. What are your thoughts on Jan Powell, the first MLB umpire in baseball?
Well, as you know, I was an umpire for about 25 years. I did amateur ball, not pro ball like Jen. But here's my thing. I think it's great. And it's not like umpiring is brain surgery, and we should have had a woman in the major leagues 20 years ago. However, as far as I know, she doesn't have a major league contract. She's just one of 17 minor league umpires who are qualified to come up to fill in when they need fill-in officials. So I'll be really impressed when they give her a major league contract. And I'll tell you what I'm upset about, Dion. It's the negativity that people put on the internet about her. They're saying she sucks, she's a DEI hire, and when they looked at her numbers for how many pitches she got right and everything, she got like 92%, which is right smack in the middle for officials. Now, I ask you, if everybody who goes to work every day has a little monitor on them and it says, how did you do your job today? How many would be in the 90s? Like
Uh,
none? Because you
yeah,
get
exactly.
you get points off because you're on your phone or you're looking up, you're scrolling on the internet. So the bottom line is her very first game, she was like 92.6% accuracy, and yet people are putting her down, and I don't understand that. So here's what I say. As someone who is crouched down behind home plate and watched a 90 mile an hour fastball, 90 plus mile an hour fastball hurtling at my head, I know how hard that is. Most people couldn't do it. Most people would see that ball coming at their heads and they'd bail. They would not stay behind home plate. So my attitude is until you've put on the gear, you have no right to bitch. So I wish her well, and I hope they give her a contract. And I hope all the people that feel the need to say she sucks grow up.
Exactly. I don't have a problem with her umpiring at all. I think it broke barriers.
Yep. But it's about time, don't you think? The NFL has women. The National Hockey League does not, but they've got women announcers, so I like that. And of course, the NBA does because why? Women play basketball, so that makes sense. That women have been playing basketball this time, but women don't play football. They tend not to play baseball, which I don't get. But yeah, so baseball is like the last bastion here. So it's time. It's time, and I wish they wouldn't make a big deal out of it.
Well, baseball always got unwritten rules. It's like you don't throw at somebody's head, at all. That's like and the dugouts, the bench is clear all the time. Somebody get their head thrown at.
Well, they
You
don't
know
do
they
that
got
so much anymore. Too much is at stake. When they did that kind of stuff back in the old days of baseball, they weren't making big salaries. There wasn't a lot to lose, right? Today, you throw at somebody and you ruin their career and they're losing millions and millions of dollars a year. There's too much at stake. And so to intentionally try to harm somebody is ridiculous and doesn't belong in any game.
well said, Annie. So let's get started with the pro. What are your thoughts on the pros and cons of amateur athlete pay today?
You mean like nil money, a name, image, likeness,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
sort of
yeah,
thing?
yeah, 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 yeah.
I think it's high time college players got paid for what they do. Because let's be honest, they're making a whole ton of money for universities. And in reality, they're nothing but meat, just like professional athletes, because nobody cares about them once they can't play anymore. Let's face it, most athletes are going to never play again after college. Most are never playing again after high school. So I think they get what they can get in college. I think that they should get a salary. I mean, because let's face it, it's not a one season sport. They get a couple weeks off and then hit the weight rooms again. So they're playing all year round. And I'm going to tell you something. I don't know if I told you before, but that I taught very briefly at Arizona State University, and I taught sports reporting. And I had 15 students in my class. And two of them were young ladies, and one was a lacrosse player. And her coach told her she could not take my class. And I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Well, my coach was afraid that, I'd fail your class and then they wouldn't be able to play because they'd lose their eligibility." It was then that I noticed that there weren't any football players, or I didn't see any basketball players either, but I know there were no football players in the entire Walter Cronkite School of Journalism where I taught. And I asked my boss, and he said, "Oh, the football coach won't allow them to take any of our classes." So anybody who might want to be a sports broadcaster wasn't allowed in our on our campus. And I don't, and the reason is they want to be eligible. The coaches don't care what happens to them when they're no longer eligible. They don't care what happens to them 5 years after school. How many athletes should be taking those kinds of classes so they can be sports journalists, and have another career after their playing careers are over? So, yeah, it really soured me on the way colleges treat their athletes. My attitude is if they can get paid, great. However, think about it. How is that going to change the college sports landscape? You're going to have a whole bunch of teams. The top teams are going to have all the booster money, and they're going to be able to pay those athletes a lot of money. What's going to happen to the schools at the bottom or even in the middle? They don't have that kind of money. Then there's the Title IX implication. You understand Title IX, how that works? If you have 200 scholarships for male athletes, you need to have 200 scholarships for female athletes. That's Title IX, that girls have to have the same opportunities. So if you've got all this money tied up in these, you're paying all these guys money, don't you have to turn around and pay the girls money too? So I'm afraid what's going to happen is we're going to lose a lot of sports. They're going to get rid of swimming. They're going to get rid of all those non-revenue sports, um, gymnastics and wrestling and archery and all those kinds of things. And we're going to have a very few sports, and a lot of them are going to go away because of this. But I can't deny that the athlete that especially football players should get paid. They're sacrificing their bodies every day. And I think they deserve the money. Is it going to change everything? Yes, it is, but I don't know what else to do about it.
Well said, Annie, because Northwestern, they had Jacob Schmidt, they had a true and you well they will save money for people, but Northwestern no longer needs them at all.
That's
So
right.
now they gonna go their own direction now because every college, like the football team, they get $20.5 million in revenue. That they spent, like Texas Tech spent like $22 million on their football team.
And what's going to most people understand that the non-revenue teams in college, every team except basketball and football, the money that usually brings in supports the all the other teams. So there's not going to be money coming in to support non-revenue teams, and we're going to lose a lot of sports, which means a lot fewer athletes are going to get scholarships. You're not going to get a soccer scholarship or a swimming scholarship or a gymnastics scholarship. And I think that's kind of sad in a way. Honestly, I'm at a point where I'm thinking colleges shouldn't even be involved in sports anymore. And I know that's rather radical, but think about it. The NFL has a free minor league in the colleges. Unlike baseball that has A ball, double A, triple A, minor leagues, there is no minor league football. So the bottom line is these colleges are building NFL players, the few that make it, the handful that make it. And the NFL is getting all that for free. So why isn't the NFL investing in college sports? They've got billions of dollars. Why don't they cut some checks and pay for college sports? The other thing is, there are professional athletes who come from small schools. We're going to lose them. Okay, they're going to have fewer opportunities. And I know there's some off-season football leagues now. I don't know how many guys they're going to find through those. And we have NFL Europe and Africa. They're trying to recruit in other countries. Probably because so many people aren't letting their kids play football anymore. So I don't know. I think we're going to have a lot of changes at the college level, and the NFL is going to just keep expanding and looking for people from other countries to play.
Well said, Annie. So why should young people play sports?
Ah, I think we have it all wrong today. People too often let their kids play sports because they believe that their child is going to be a professional athlete or they're going to win a gold medal in the Olympics. And guess what? Most of the time, that's not happening at all. Um, the idea behind youth sports is to teach children about life, to teach them business skills. Because if you think about it, what are the kind of things that that when you have a job, what are the kind of things that people want you to be able to do? They want you to be punctual. They want you to be on time. They want you to be able to work with other people. They want you to be a leader or a follower. They want you to take direction and follow rules. These are the things that sports teach us. I don't know about you, but if I was a coach and you were late for practice, you're not playing for me that week. I don't care if you're my best player. If you can't be on time, then you think you're more important than everybody else out there. We're teaching you life skills. It doesn't matter if your team wins or loses. It matters that you know how to work with others. And I'll say this, while sports do that, so do other things. I don't know what you participated in school, but if you're in theater, if you're in music, the band, those are all things where you have to work with other people to produce a product. So those things are so important. It's not about your kid being a pro or even getting college scholarship. It's about participation, working with other people, and I think we're missing that today.
Well, yeah, I think we mentioned it because the thing is, people, some of the kids, they're not gonna be good at all. And some of parents, they don't tell their kid that they're not good at all. Everybody want to make people look good and better than they appear to be, especially in sports.
I think too, you have parents. Maybe dad got cut from the football team. Maybe mom didn't make the cheer squad. And so they're living through their kids. And that can't be. We have kids who are being pushed to play sports when maybe they want to play piano. And I think I was a teacher for 20 years. And I worked a lot with kids about preparing for the future. And I we don't ask kids enough, what do you want? What do you want to do? What would you like to be? And here's the thing, they can say, I want to be a quarterback in the NFL. Well, if you're not that's fine. And let's say you get there. Do you know how long an average professional career is in sports?
Well, football is like 6 or 8 years for the running
No.
back position.
3.6 years is an average NFL career. But if you dump basketball and hockey and everything in there, 6 years is like the tops. And now you're 28 years old. What are you going to do with the rest of your life? You have to have other things to do. And I'm afraid that when you understand that people now play high school ball, they have travel leagues. Coaches only want them to play one sport. I don't know how it is where you went to school, but we used to have people who would play football in the fall and wrestle in the winter and be track in the summer and or in the spring. People don't do that anymore. The coaches want you to only play one sport, and I think that's a crime. I think we need to let people do different things. Maybe you're in a play one semester instead of being, in a sport. And it's too bad. We're taking children and we're forcing them into these whole little spots, and they're not growing into the people they should be. Kids should be able to decide what they want and what they're interested in and how they want their futures to look. And I'm afraid we're not doing that.
Well, and now they getting NIL money in high school. They getting endorsement deals.
Ah,
So
yeah, I don't like that.
they getting muscle milk, they getting deals already and stuff. They getting recruited as
14, 15.
yeah, exactly. So it's gonna get worse before it gets better with that.
I know, and I don't like that with high school kids. I think that's wrong. Um, ah,
Cause it's a kid at Mount Carmel. He a sophomore wide receiver and he got 20 offers and then the junior he got like 30 offers.
I don't know. I have no answer for that.
Yeah, so let's go and talk about what are your thoughts on the Little League Softball World Series?
I know. I
That
told you about this. Really bugged me. Okay. I go to the health club every day and I'm on the treadmill. And the only thing on was the Little League Softball World Series. And I was like, wow, how cool is that? We have little girls playing softball. I'm not a softball fan, I'm a baseball fan, but they were playing and they were on TV. Great. And I thought, isn't that nice that they're on TV? But do you know what I saw them doing? The little pitcher would strike someone out and she's jumping up and down and making a big deal out of it. Another little girl hits a double into the gap, gets to second base and is pointing at herself and jumping up and down. I went, this is wrong. We've got 10 and 12-year-olds acting like NFL players who've never been in the end zone, doing dances and stuff. And I was offended. I was upset that these girls were behaving like that. Now, I felt better when I saw some of the Little League World Series with the boys. They didn't jump up and down like that. Those girls were beating the other team 7-0. They were, and to me, that shows your play. You're 7-0, and when you jump up and down and try to draw attention to yourself, dancing around, you're putting the other team down. That is not sportsmanlike. And I was offended that those girls were doing it. I was offended that the coaches and the parents didn't seem to care. I'm like, if my kid did that, no, 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 no. And if I, as a coach, that makes the coach look bad. It shows that you don't care that they're basically dissing the other team. So I don't know how that is. Larry Fitzgerald, right? Wide receiver for the Cardinals.
yeah.
Fabulous, fabulous. Love him. He retired. He'll be a first round Hall of Famer. Every time he'd do some spectacular play, end up in the end zone, and he always took the ball, looked for the nearest official, and just handed it to the official. That to me is the epitome of sportsmanship. So I was upset that those little girls are starting out the wrong way. And I hope someone straightens them out. I really do.
Well said. So what do you think about why the fans are losing interest in the games today, you know?
It is a huge problem. I don't know if you're old enough to remember when a 1-0 ball game was a great game, right? It was great. Or a 1-0 hockey game was a great thing. People want offense. So they're changing the games because there's not enough offense to keep people interested. Young people, especially, have very short attention spans. So they're desperately trying to change the games to keep their interest. Um, that's why baseball made its new rules recently. About the pitch clock, that kind of thing, which I like. I like the pitch clock. But I think the games are too long. I think young people do not have the attention span for games. And I think sports are in trouble because of it. How do you get new fans if they're not willing to watch a game, if they're not willing to play either? The participation in Pop Warner and Little League is sort of down in some cases, especially Pop Warner. People don't want their kids to play football. They're worried about brain injuries. What's going to happen when we run out of youth players that are then going to go play high school, then are then going to go play college? We're going to run out of players. And if you don't play as a kid, maybe you don't have that deep love of the game. So I think they're really struggling with this. I think this is why we have some, red zone. When you watch red zone and it's just scoring over and over and over and over, I think that's killing it too. It's just feeding into the short attention span. So games are too long. They've always been too long. But we used to like long games. We also used to like games with low scoring because we appreciated defense. Nobody appreciates defense in baseball anymore or in football. They only talk about who scored. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, the thing is, the NFL, they want to be an offensive league because, offense is entertaining and everything. Like baseball, they got the pitch clock, where the pitcher, he got to get the ball in 20 seconds unless it's going to be a balk or they're going to get they're going to get a play at a first base.
Well, but I
So,
like that. That's good. That's good because then you don't have the pitcher fuddling around with the ball, the batter going in and out of the box. That's exhausting and a pain in the butt. I love the clock. I don't like some of the other changes. I don't like this the strike zone box up there all the time. That annoys the hell out of me. That I'm always looking at the strike zone. It ruins the picture to me. I don't mind checking the strike zone box if something is horribly outside or bad call, whatever. But to see it there the whole time, that bugs me. I also realize that we're not going to have umpires pretty soon. And that got sent home to me today when I saw that Harry Wendelstadt's school is closing. It's one of the two big umpire schools. They're closing after 50 years. No more umpire school there, one of them. And I think that's because they see the end coming. I think pretty soon there won't be umpires at all. And do you know what, Dion? I think fans will miss the umpires because who are they going to yell at? They will miss that part of the. What are you going to yell at a machine? You know. So I really think that when they finally get rid of umpires, which will be soon. I think they'll be the first officials to disappear completely. They'll have AI. They'll have the bases rigged up with however they do it. And I think people will miss it because you won't have anybody to bitch at. So it's
yeah.
part of the game. Most of the umpires are, up in the 90s with their play calling. And I challenge anybody else to be that good at work every day. And I think it's going to be sad when we go to nothing but machines.
Well, that's already happening at the Major League Baseball minor
I
league. They
know.
already got an automated strike zone already, and then the soccer
Yeah.
they got a in soccer they got a system as well with replay, to see if the goal was completed or not. So it's already happening at automated sports.
Ha-
Look at
right. How about
the
football? They're getting rid of
yeah.
the chains. They're getting
Well,
rid of
exactly.
measurements, and they're doing it with a machine. And you know what? As a former football official, football is wonderful because there's a lot of pageantry involved in it. And the few times you bring the chains out to measure if they got the line to gain, the few times you do that, there's anticipation. I guess there's anticipation now that it's a machine doing it, but somehow it doesn't feel the same. And I wish they wouldn't make that change. Oh, it'll make the game quicker. I got a way to make the game quicker. Quit having so many timeouts for commercials. How about the when we have the 2 minute warning? Do we need a 2 minute warning? Everybody can see the clock. The two the 2 minute warning was from the days when there wasn't a visible clock. Like if you're doing a low level kids game, the one of the officials keeps the time on their watch so no one can see it. Well, then you have a 4 minute warning and a 2 minute warning so everybody knows. But the clock is giant. You don't need to have a 2 minute warning. It's just another excuse to have commercials. Cut some of the friggin' commercials and the games might be shorter.
Look at the Super Bowl. The advertising they be paying them $1 million like for
Oh,
30
it's like
second ads or one
6
minute ad.
million.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. Six, I think. Yeah, that I don't mind so much because sometimes the commercials are fun. They're creative. It's the big time for year for commercials to shine. But yeah, that they have so many timeouts is ridiculous. I hate going to games I won't go to an NFL game or a college game anymore because you sit and nothing happens because we're on timeout, TV timeout. At home, it's not as bad. You get up, you walk around, get something to eat. But at the game,
Well,
it's like this is exhausting sitting here.
well, I went to the Cubs Phillies game, and when the Cubs was getting blown out like 7-0 on the fourth inning, it was real cold that day. You know what I did?
No.
I left and I went to the season where the sun was at, and they was getting blew out. I was just watching on TV, and then I went back out for the last 4 innings of the game. They lost 10-4 anyway,
Yeah,
you know.
if they really want to get the games moving, you get rid of a lot of the TV timeouts. And maybe you have, TV, the commercials during the breaks. And I know that's hard for baseball, but halftime or in between periods in hockey, put them there. And there are just so many friggin' commercials. It's not fun.
They
And
they 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 not gonna do that, Andy, because of
I know
money.
they're not.
Money always talks.
Well, when they've got no viewers, they've got no viewers, and what are they going to do? And then again, who can afford to go to games anyway? Let's be honest. I mean,
Exactly.
it's like $1,000 to buy your tickets to take, a family of four, your kids, the food, the parking. Who
E-
can afford that? And honestly, if I'm watching a game, I'm doing it in the comfort of my living room. Uh,
Exactly. Well said. Get those Cheeto puffs and that home run in pizza
yeah.
and wash it down with
And I don't have to listen to people screaming. I can
Coca-Cola.
see the whole game. The only thing I watch
Exactly.
at this point is really football. I don't really watch anything. So we'll watch Stanley Cup because Ryan's a big Stanley Cup fan. But other than watching some football, I've lost interest in everything else. I hate to admit that, but I have.
Well, let's get started with the WNBA. What are your thoughts on the WNBA right now and what's going on with the teams and everything?
Well, the only thing I can comment on is the sad fact that Caitlin Clark is hurt and ticket sales have plummeted. And that is so sad to me because she is not the only athlete in the WNBA. There are a lot of fabulous athletes. I hate that I think that it's because she's white and she's straight. And many of the women who play are black and gay. And I think it's very sad that the white woman, not that Caitlin's not great, she is great. This is not about her. Um, it's about the fact that suddenly people don't want to watch because she's not there. And I don't get that at all. I really don't.
Well, I just feel that Caitlin Clark is not appreciated because before she was in the WNBA, they weren't selling out tickets at all. Now they be having the Chicago Sky and the Indiana Fever at the United Center, or they have the Dallas Wings at the where the Dallas Mavericks play. So Caitlin Clark is a big draw.
She's a huge draw, but
I just
why
think
why
I
aren't
just
the
think
other
that
women a draw?
yeah, but I don't know, because the thing is, she shoot from the logo like Steph Curry with the Warriors and everything, so and she bring a lot of interest to the games. A lot of people do not shoot logo threes, and I think that because she's not playing, that the attendance is going down. I
You're
think
right,
Caitlin
it
Clark is
is,
the
but it's
biggest draw
sad.
in the W. Well, yeah, it's sad, but I think Caitlin Clark is the biggest draw in the WNBA right
She
now.
is.
I think that they should, Kathy Engelberg, all the other basketball players in WNBA they should be opening their arms to Caitlin Clark because she brought interest to the league and everybody want the Dave Russo went up 80% her first year in the league. So she clearly the biggest draw, and with no Caitlin Clark, the WNBA will not be having a deal with NBC, or they won't have a deal with ESPN.
You're
Nobody will
right.
care because their viewership will plummet.
But
So
don't you
they
think
need.
it's sad when they've got all these other very talented women that one woman not playing can break the league? I hope that's not the case. It's
Well, yeah,
been
well, it is the case because the viewership goes down when Caitlin Clark not playing. She injured right now. I'm guarantee you, people not watching the Indiana Fever. They're not going to the games to watch Aaliyah Boston and stuff. No offense to them, she's a good player, but
uh,
they want Indiana to be good. The league need Indiana to be good and one of the top teams. But with her injured, that's killing the momentum. They still got momentum going in the WNBA, but with her being injured is killing the vibes and the momentum that they had. They need her on the court.
I'm not arguing at all. I just think it's too bad. The other players are very talented and people should watch them anyway. But I
Yeah,
don't
but
see that happening.
Well, I don't think it's gonna change because she a big draw. Look at Iowa. You know, they played a preseason game at Iowa and all the fans came out, you know. And when they retired her jersey at Iowa and she you know, they don't retire people's jerseys when you graduate, you know, at university, but they did with her because she was a special occasion.
Hmm.
I would say I'm a big Caitlin Clark fan because she doing things different that other players haven't done in the past, you know.
I'm a fan too. I just wish the other women would also get some credit for being out there and being good athletes.
Well, yeah, well, that ain't gonna happen because the thing is, people are amazed with that play style today. You know, like shooting threes and everything. That's why the Warriors people love, and that's why everybody shoot threes now. Look at the high school level;
But
they
I
don't
hate
want to shoot
threes.
twos.
I think it's boring. I miss inside play. You're going to think I'm crazy. I don't like home runs either, unless it's a game winner. It's not as exciting as a triple, which you never see. No, in basketball, I find threes boring ball. I really do. I think there should be a limit on how many threes you can have in a game because it's
Well,
it's making the game not nearly as exciting. And again,
well,
everybody's swinging for the fences in baseball, and no one's that means no one else is touching the ball. There's no plays going on, and I find that boring.
yeah, well, people like the big dumper, you know, Cal Raleigh, he got the most home runs for a catcher in Major League Baseball history and stuff. So I say it depends on who hit the home runs, you know.
But don't we have, because we have so many people going for home runs, don't we have more strikeouts? And I haven't seen these
Well,
stats lately.
well,
So,
exactly. Well, yeah, I would say so.
and strikeouts are kind of boring.
But what happened to the saying chicks dig the long ball though? That ain't the phase no more.
Say it again.
Chicks dig the long ball. What happened to that?
Not me. As a sports reporter, I'm going to tell you that home runs are the worst highlights. Why? They're really long, and you got to figure out something to say. Yeah, they're like an average play is like 7 seconds.
Well,
That's like 10 seconds. You got to say stuff, and sometimes I didn't know what to say, so I
well,
find them boring. I'm sorry, we're
well,
going to get storm.
that's why the announcer eat hot dogs and they talk about other stuff during the breaks
Nobody
when
ever
it's
gave me a hot
warm.
dog on Sports Center. They didn't do that. I don't know why.
Well, Rich Eisen is on Sports Center now, and he got a lot of ratings and everything.
Did
The
he get
Rich
a hot
Eisen
dog?
show.
Did he have hot
No,
dogs?
I
Oh,
don't
good.
think
Okay.
so. But he was talking about Stuart Scott and everything, and that was a great story. You know, it's great to have Rich Eisen back on ESPN. You know, he gonna have a show starting back on September 2nd.
Well, I don't watch it anymore. The music gives me hives.
Yeah, but they went back to the old school when he was on there though. They went
Yeah.
back to the old like the music and everything. Go back and replay the Sports Center when he was on there.
Okay,
But
you think he's old school? I was on Sports Center in 1990, 1990
yeah,
to 92. So I'm old, but I was on way before him.
well that's great and you know, but we got one more before I get you out of here. What do you think about people betting on the Little League World Series and also the torpedo bets
Okay,
and the percent?
torpedo bats, I'm not a fan. I think once again, it's just they want more offense. They want people to hit more home runs. I don't know that they necessarily do that. They make a bigger target, maybe a bigger sweet spot. Um, until they've had it for a year or two, we don't know how it's going to change things statistically. But I think it's just about more offense. I don't like that. Um, and when I saw today that in the United States, it's illegal to bet on kids' games. But people outside of the United States have betting lines on the Little League World Series. And I think that's atrocious and should never happen. You shouldn't be betting on children to play a game. I don't even like betting on sports at all. But to put that kind of pressure on children, you know, again, it's supposed to be illegal here, but anybody can bet from anywhere. So yeah, that's even a thing. And since we're on gambling, I'm totally against parlay, the bets where, will this guy hit 4 3-pointers, or what will the score be at the end of the first quarter? I think this is all bad. I really do. And I'm not a Pollyanna, but all those little disclaimers that say, we really care if you have a gambling problem, they do not care. They want you to have a gambling problem. And who has gambling problems? 18 to 24-year-old kids, college kids. And it's like drugs or smoking or drinking. It's a bad addiction. And
What,
I am not a fan of sports gambling at any
what,
level. But when I heard people doing it on Little League, I was appalled.
well, why do they have the players do it? Like, Michael Porter brother, he banned from the NBA, and then Emmanuel Clase with the Indians, they had two pitchers that was gambling and everything. So it's trickling down to the sports players now, like
Yeah,
Malik Beasley, he
there
had
was also an umpire. I think it was an umpire who also got caught. But at
well,
the
yeah,
end,
yeah, they
never.
banned him. Yeah, they suspended him. He can't
I
umpire
But
anymore.
it's never front page news. It's like 6 pages in the sports page. It's 6 pages deep. That's what bugs me. They're not really covering these betting gambling stories that they don't want to talk about it. And it's going to get worse. And I really wish we'd stop betting on sports but they're not going to stop doing it. So,
Well said, Annie. It was a pleasure having you on today, and we'll have you on in the future.
all right. Well, I appreciate you inviting me, Dion. I enjoyed it.
All right, see you.